The Future of Space Stations, Building Humanity's Neighborhood in the Stars by Isaac Arthur, NSS President. When the International Space Station was first assembled in orbit in 1998, few would have guessed it would become not just an icon of human cooperation, but also one of endurance. For 25 years, it has quietly circled Earth, a joint project of nations who rarely agreed on much, proving that space can be neutral ground. But as the ISS nears retirement, the question for us isn't whether humanity will keep a foothold in orbit, it's how far and how fast we'll expand those footholds into a true archipelago of stations across the solar system. A quarter century of shared orbit. The ISS wasn't humanity's first station. That honor belongs to the Soviet Union's Salyut 1, but it was the first designed to truly last. It has taught us how to sustain life in microgravity for years, recycle air and water, conduct zero-G research, and maintain a fragile metal habitat in one of the harshest environments imaginable. Perhaps more importantly, it has normalized space as a workplace. Hundreds of astronauts have called it home, and tens of thousands of students have seen their experiments float past its windows. The next generation, from outpost to economy. Now a wave of commercial stations is on the horizon from companies like Axiom Space, Orbital Reef, Starlab, Vast Space, and others, each designed to take lessons from the ISS and translate them into business. These would not just host astronauts and experiments, but tourists, manufacturers, and perhaps even film crews. The shift mirrors how aviation evolved from barnstorming to airlines, spaceflight moving from heroic exploration to routine infrastructure. For the United States and its partners, this transition is vital. The ISS costs over $150 billion. The next stations must sustain themselves through commerce. Microgravity offers unique manufacturing prospects, from fiber optic glass purer than any made on Earth to novel alloys and biological materials that cannot form in gravity. It is proving the best place to make semiconductors for the next generation of computers, and many people like Jeff Bezos and Sam Altman are seriously contemplating using such chips up there for the next generation of data centers, able to run on reliable and 24/7 solar power. If any of these efforts proves viable, orbital industry will finally have a profit motive, and with it, permanence. Beyond Earth orbit. But the real promise of space stations also lies in going beyond low Earth orbit. NASA's Lunar Gateway, a small modular outpost planned for the 2030s, will serve as both research lab and logistics hub for the Moon if it's completed and flown. Stations at the Earth-Moon Lagrange points could become way stations for interplanetary spacecraft, repair yards for satellites, or depots storing propellant refined from lunar or asteroid resources. The Aldrin Cycler and its lunar variant represents a hybrid of spaceship and space station that may make repeated trips to Mars or the Moon vastly safer and cheaper. Habitats as communities. It's easy to think of stations as scientific outposts or refueling depots, but to the NSS, they are just our first truly off-world communities. The ISS functions as a micro-village in orbit. People from multiple nations working, eating, repairing, and sometimes arguing, all within a metal shell that's as long as a football field. Future stations may host dozens or hundreds of inhabitants at once, complete with gardens, workshops, and small cultures of their own. In a sense, these are prototypes for every space habitat to come: cylinders, spheres, and other megastructures that might one day house thousands. Each new outpost teaches us how people live together in confined but self-sufficient environments, knowledge vital to fulfilling the mission behind both our name and our mission, ad astra, to the stars. Why they matter. Space stations are not just waypoints for astronauts, they are statements about what kind of society we intend to be. They say that we plan to stay in space, not merely visit, to build communities in space and utilize the great resources of space for the betterment of all mankind. For all its quirks, leaks, and creaks, the ISS has already earned its place in history, but the greater legacy may be that it made space normal, that orbit became a neighborhood rather than a frontier. The next quarter century will see that neighborhood grow, from one house to many, from one orbit to many worlds. Somewhere above, our descendants will look down from their stations, outposts, and habitats, not as guests of the cosmos, but as its citizens. Thank you for joining us for another Ad Astra video presented by the National Space Society. To read more great content from Ad Astra magazine, or to learn more about the NSS, just visit nss.org. Thanks for watching, and have a great week.